Wrong way to do diplomacy with Russia. What Trump could learn from Reagan. Summits between heads of state are high-stakes gambles to achieve breakthrough solutions. Typically, they are judged on whether they help resolve an intractable international issue. But sometimes their most consequential impact is on the domestic political standing of one or both of the summit's participants. And U.S. President Donald Trump's summit last month in Alaska with Russian President Vladimir Putin is of this mold. It strengthened Putin, and in doing so has prolonged both the war in Ukraine and his hold on power. The meeting in Anchorage has parallels to the 1986 summit between U.S. President Ronald Reagan and Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev in Reykjavik, Iceland. Then, as now, an American leader and a Russian one met to resolve a major foreign policy challenge. In 1986, ending an arms race, and last month, ending the war in Ukraine. In both cases, they failed. The talks in Iceland collapsed when Reagan refused to scuttle his Strategic Defense Initiative, a proposed program that would neutralize Soviet nuclear missiles before they struck their targets. Alaska ended without a deal to end Russia's invasion, but there the parallels diverge. Both summits may have had profound consequences for the Kremlin, yet those consequences could not be more different. For Gorbachev, the Iceland summit hastened the end of his country. He returned to the Kremlin weakened from his failure to stop Reagan's program, and his subsequent decisions paved the way for the collapse of the Soviet Union 5 years later. Putin, by contrast, has emerged triumphant. Trump rolled out the red carpet for the Russian leader in Anchorage and spoke gushingly of their fantastic relationship. Putin made no concessions, and Trump shifted the responsibility for ending the fighting to Ukraine. Now it is really up to President Zelensky to get it done, he said in an interview with Fox News. Although Putin did not face any strong opposition before Alaska, he now enjoys a glow of success for, by all appearances, having won over the American president. According to a late August survey by the independent Russian polling firm Levada, 79% of Russians view the summit as a success for Putin, and 51% are more optimistic for an improvement in relations with the United States. After the summit, Russian media did not have to put out false pronouncements to highlight Putin's diplomatic triumph. It broadcast the real event, along with Western commentary on Putin's victory. Stronger than ever, Putin can continue his war against Ukraine for as long as it takes to win on his terms. When the Politburo elected Gorbachev General Secretary of the Soviet Communist Party in 1985, the country was in desperate need of reform. The Soviet military was bogged down in Afghanistan, a conflict that Gorbachev called a bleeding wound, and incompetent central planning was dragging down the Soviet Union's economic growth rate, and inequality, corruption, and scarcity were rampant. Putin's Russia is not Gorbachev's Soviet Union. There is no collective leadership constraining the Kremlin. Putin does not answer to a Politburo or any powerful committee. He presides over a personalist authoritarian system in which he is the sole source of power. The public officials and business leaders in Putin's orbit owe their positions, their influence, and their wealth to their loyalty and service to him alone. After more than 3 years of war, the Russian economy has not crashed under the pressure of sanctions. Instead, the country's skilled economic leaders managed to keep growth above 4% last year, buoyed by high defense spending. Still, extensive government spending to strengthen the economy has led to high inflation, nearly 10% in 2024 and over 8% this year. And Putin's war carries significant opportunity costs for Russia. International sanctions limiting the country's trade, investment, and access to technology hamper productivity and growth. The Russian army can recruit new contract soldiers, but it must offer substantial sign-on bonuses and ever higher payments to entice them. And those contracts are driving labor shortages and inflation. He broke out of the isolation that the West had imposed on him, defiantly landing in the United States despite sanctions and international arrest warrants for war crimes. He delayed and has possibly entirely avoided new crushing sanctions on Russian oil. And he reminded the world that Moscow stands resolute in its demands that Ukraine cede not just territory, but its autonomy and sovereignty as well. In fact, the summit helped Putin legitimize Moscow's grievances, giving Russians who might doubt the wisdom of the invasion reason, believe that it was, as Putin promised, just. Addressing reporters in Anchorage against a backdrop that read, "Pursuing Peace," Putin spoke of Russia's legitimate concerns, of his desire to see a just balance of security in Europe and in the world, and of the need to eliminate all the primary roots, the primary causes of the fighting in Ukraine. Trump did nothing to push back against this narrative. Indeed, the American president appears to have accepted Putin's contention that Moscow should have a say over Ukrainian territorial integrity and Western security guarantees. Putin flew home having demonstrated to his subjects that he was right all along, that they must not waver, and that he will win for them. For Putin, the summit was never about pursuing peace in Ukraine. His aim all along has been to bend the international system to his will and to preserve his monopoly on power at home. Since his first incursions into Ukraine in 2014, Putin has played the long game. He has always believed that time is on his side. The Alaska summit bought him even more time and gave him a stronger hand for achieving military victory. This is the wrong way to do diplomacy with Russia. What Trump could learn from Reagan.